as a disclaimer, we are not doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, or eating disorder professionals. So if you do seek professional help, please find that elsewhere and not with us. We're just sharing our personal experiences and things that we've observed from our own journeys and those around us. So we will link resources below, but please make sure to seek professional help if you are struggling with anything that we mention in this episode.
We'll have sort of our own backgrounds with it. And, you know, Steph, I'd love for you to kind of share what your journey was like with it.
Yeah, my journey's weird because I've been going to therapy now for since college, basically. And in all of my sessions, the topic was never eating disorders. But in college, I essentially went on an antidepressant my freshman year because I stopped sleeping. And unbeknownst to me, I got really sick from the side effects. And for a month, everything was going through me, as TMI as that is. And like, I couldn't keep fluids in. I had to go to the ER to get like an IV, and they thought I had a virus. But consequentially, I lost a ton of weight. And I always wanted to be petite and smaller. I was always like a muscular build. I was always...
Look at those guns.
I don't even lift anymore. But anyway, so I always wanted to be like more feminine, quote unquote, like from what I saw in movies, like the smaller, more slender women. And I remember a comment my brother made to me in high school when I was in cross country, and he's like, "I'm surprised you're good at distance running because you're short and stocky like a sprinter." And I felt like I remember that forever. Like, it's so weird. It's like you said, you just remember those things. And I never felt pretty enough or petite enough. And so when I lost all this weight when I got sick, I was like, oh my God, I'm finally like a rail. Like, my arms aren't as big and muscular. Like, I'm actually skinny. And after I got sick and I switched medications, I started running a lot. And got really skinny that way. I did a half marathon, and I was finally like really good at distance running. Like, I was good in high school, but I was like, I got like first place in my half marathon. Like, I was a distance runner. Like, I was really like in the groove, and I was better than I ever had been at running. So I was like, oh, this is like great. And the way I did that was by basically cutting fat out of my diet. I would do PB2. I would do minimal oil when cooking anything. I would do like low fat, no fat Greek yogurt. I was eating so low fat. And like for hormones, that is wowza, like a terrible
idea. How to get rid of your period 101.
Right, exactly. And I had the IUD at the time, so I thought I just didn't have my period because of that. And so it kind of covered up the fact that I was destroying my body. And I got really anxious every day. I suffered with extreme anxiety, and now in hindsight, I know how much hormones impact your anxiety, your mental health, anything like that. So that started going down the drain. I felt so anxious all the time. And this kind of led me into weightlifting. And then I started learning about how muscle burns so much calories, and I started toning up so insanely that I got down to 10% body fat. And the reason why this story is a little different is because I never skipped a meal, and I was eating large portions, and I was essentially volume eating to where I was tricking myself and everyone around me. Like, I eat so much, but I was eating things that were really low in calories, like only chicken, only turkey, anything like low fat, and definitely not enough carbs for someone that was walking campus, lifting 5 days a week. But in my mind, I was like, I only work out 4 or 5 days a week. I eat like 4 meals a day. They're bigger meals. So I was really tricking myself and started blaming it on everything else. Got all these tests done, went to the doctor saying, I think I'm underweight. And they're like, no, your BMI is totally normal. And I think I was looking for someone to tell me, you need to eat more. I almost wanted someone to give me permission. And these doctors just kept saying, your BMI is normal. So I'm like, okay, I'm not underweight, even though like I knew I was underweight. Yeah. And so essentially, like, years and years and years of this, I finally started eating again, and I don't know what changed. I think I started learning about how undereating is so bad for you that I feared not eating enough. And so I started adding fats back in. I became a lot more okay with them. And I was able to put on some weight again, but I got to like 108 pounds in college, which like I'm 5'5", so it was just way too small. And I was like so sickly looking, and my people would always be like, "Are you anorexic?" And I'm like, "No, I eat. Like I just don't digest food." And I wasn't, because I destroyed my gut health by under eating. So like it really was this trick I played on myself. I played on everyone around me. My therapist even last year was like, I kind of feel like you have maybe like, for a second I thought you have an undiagnosed eating disorder, but then I'm like, no, I don't think that's it. And this guy's like a PhD, like brilliant guy, but I had everyone fooled. And up until like 6 months ago, I finally came to terms with the fact that I definitely had an eating disorder, and I still struggle with like some of the thoughts. It's a healing journey. It's never like a destination. I don't think you ever fully just are magically recovered. I think you're always battling keeping those thoughts or those behaviors away. And that looks different for everyone. But if I could wrap this all in a bow, I truly believe that my eating disorder was really centered around control. And I, growing up, had some things happen that were really traumatic, and I realized that everything I do in life really involves me needing to have control in order to feel some semblance of peace inside. And so, especially during college, when I wasn't in a relationship that was particularly good for me, I didn't know what I was majoring in. I just felt like the world was chaos. And that's when it got really bad, was that time. And I still struggle with control and feeling off and not having control in my body and with my body. So it's still something that I battle with, that need for control, but I feel like it's a lot more common in eating disorders than I thought after talking to people. Like, I really think that a lot of these diets, like keto and intermittent fasting and anything where you're really restrictive or like cutting entire food groups out, I think it's less about health for a lot of people, and it's more about feeling a semblance of control. And the more we restrict, the more control we feel we have. It's almost like I got dopamine or like happy hormones from feeling like, ooh, look at me, I can not eat this and this and this and this, where everyone else like is too weak. Like they have to eat those things. Yeah. And in the end, I was weak, you know? So, my God. Anyway, that means I've been talking too long, but I have never publicly admitted that I have struggled with an eating disorder. So here it is, and I think that I have, and I still am healing from it. So that's my journey.
I love that. I love that so much. And, you know, I think it's so unique to have two different spectrums of talking about it. Where I did also go through the whole restriction, all or nothing phase, but that's exactly what it is. It's like, whether eating disorders doesn't just mean purging and binging, but it's also restricting and having that all or nothing mindset, which also causes the anxiety, which also causes, right, the needing to be in control or lack of control what you are doing to your body. And I'm so proud of you for, you know, coming to that acknowledgement, and again, to the public, sharing so openly for the first time. Like, that is a huge level of growth right there, and a level of healing. So I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I do, like, when you were talking about not wanting to seek help or talk about it, that really hit home for me, because I think one of the biggest themes I see in myself and with other people that have struggled with eating disorders or disordered eating is this level of shame.
Yep.
And there's something about it, eating, that feels so shameful. And after learning more about eating disorders, I realized, like, in college, I would eat every meal in my room.
Yep.
And I didn't, like, all my roommates were just like, why? Like, they're like out there eating and talking and like studying together. I would go in my room and shut my door. Yeah. And it's like, it was like a ritual. Like, I had to eat alone. And I think it's because of the shame aspect, like eating in front of people. It's so weird, because it's like, we need to eat to live. So why do I feel ashamed of this?
Yeah.
But that's something that stuck out to me when you talked about like talking about it too. It's like, even when people bring it up to you, you get almost defensive because you're like, no, I don't have eating like I eat all the time, and it's like, it's the shame. For some reason, I felt shame around the fact that I struggled with it.
Yeah. I think if you get defensive, you're hiding something.
100%.
Totally.
Yeah.
And like admitting is like the hardest part, and just like coming to that realization is really hard. So like thank you both for sharing, because your stories are so beautiful and powerful, and we're hoping that this can help anyone else who's struggling with anything like this. But it is a healing journey, and it's so cool to see like the adjustments that the two of you have made just since we've been living together, and it's only been 3 months, so it's crazy. Like it's totally trial and error. Like we are all just trying to figure it out, and we all made a promise to ourselves moving in here. We are going to be the healthiest versions of ourselves, and we're doing the damn thing.
Yes.
It's awesome.
And I think the beauty in all this too of having these discussions, and Tara, we'll get to you, is eating disorders look really different for everyone.
Yep.
There's no body type for an eating disorder. There's no perfect formula for what it looks like. It doesn't have to be purging. It doesn't have to be skipping meals. I feel like they all look so different. There's no one size fits all. And I'd love to hear from you, Tara. Have you ever struggled with disordered eating patterns, eating disordered behavior, anything like that?
Yes, definitely. And like you said, it hits everyone differently. Like we all have such unique stories. Mine started probably when I was about 3.5, which is crazy to think about. So I had 7 extensive surgeries on my chin, and I'll definitely be getting more into that in future episodes. But having that surgery in that area, like my face after my surgery was so swollen and huge, and especially in my mouth area. So one can only imagine, I literally was not capable of eating.
Right.
So mine was kind of more of like that physical standpoint where like I had no idea what was going on because I was recovering from surgery. I was so young.
And 3 years old.
Yeah.
And eating was probably like not a fun experience. So
Right. Like it literally just like wasn't
Still on baby food.
possible.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, even just like, so I literally grew up basically on like blue Gatorade because I
Wow.
had to get electrolytes.
Right.
Ensure, like the protein drinks, just to get some protein in, and Jell-O. And that was like all I could really, all my mom could get down my mouth basically when I was recovering from my surgeries, which took a few weeks. And there was one point where I literally could not get anything down for about, it was either like 10 days to 2 weeks, which is just crazy to say out loud. Like I had no food in my body for that long. And you can imagine like, we go a few hours and we're like, I gotta
Starving,
eat.
yeah.
Like, we're
Blood
so
sugar low.
hungry.
Yeah.
So just to like think about that, like I sent myself back into the hospital. Like I landed back in there, and they had to like pump me with just nutrients and fluids just any way that they could. So that's where it started for me. And I had those surgeries every other summer until the time I was 15 and a half. So 3.5 to 15 and a half. This is something that my body was going through, and I didn't have any control over that. So it was like really scary because you're in recovery and your body is so weak already, and you can't eat on top of that or give yourself nutrients.
Like to heal. Like you
Right.
need food to heal, and it's like you can't even get that.
Yeah, like I was like in bed, I couldn't eat, like it was crazy. But even in high school and everything, like I was so skinny, and I played a lot of sports, and I did all of the fad like food diets.
Yeah.
I did the raw food cleanses, like, and like you were saying, like it totally is a control thing.
Yeah.
Like
It feels good, like I
Yeah.
have power if I can
Yeah.
not eat X, Y, Z.
Right, and I was like dealing with my own internal battles, and like you said, like chaos. Like when there's so much chaos going on around you, like You just need to find something to control. And that was the only thing that I could control in my life. And it was even crazier. I was working at a TGI Fridays and I'm like, yeah, let's do this raw food cleanse. Like, challenging yourself, like literally working around food and like putting yourself to that challenge. And I would do this for like a week I don't even know how often I would do it, but I would just like, that's wild.
Yeah.
Like that was really hard. I see like French fries and a bunch of like, I smell food like all throughout the day, and just like, I don't know, being able to do that was pretty intense.
It kind of, it obviously depends on the source of the eating disorder, whether it's hereditary, because it is a psychological disorder. It's not just like, I just want to be skinny. No, it's a psychological disorder.
Yeah.
When you brought that up, it reminded me of like all these other times in my life where I had disordered eating even as a kid, which is so telling. It's clearly this reoccurring theme of I don't feel safe, I need to control something.
Totally. And it's like anxiety too. Like that's something that I've always struggled with like all my life, and it's something that I'm like finally learning how to cope with in a healthy way. So the first thing that goes for me when I get anxious is my appetite. Like I feel absolutely nauseous. Like I will try to eat because I know that I need to eat, but it's just like it hits a certain point, my body hits a wall, and it's like, nope, no more. And it's terrible. And it's just a vicious cycle because it's like, okay, you feel anxious, so you're not eating, and then you feel even
That
more
makes you
anxious.
so much more anxious, yeah.
So it's like crazy. Like there were a few periods in my life recently within the past year where my anxiety was so bad. I was seeing a doctor at the time, and like we were really trying to work on just maintaining my weight, because every time I saw her, I had lost 14 pounds within a month. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's so drastic. And you're small.
Yeah.
You're not
Right.
a 300-pound lineman.
Right, totally. So it's just like that was something I was really trying to work on. So just that anxious piece. It's just like, I don't know, it really affects you. But moving out here, it's crazy because I hear just from a few people here and there, just like, oh, Tara looks so skinny, whatever, which it's always great to hear, but obviously it like fuels that
It fuels
desire
it.
as well. But I'm now finally eating a lot of food, and that's something that I've really been trying to focus on, which is super cool because I did just go through an anxious period where I was not eating like at all. So to be able to say that I'm eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner is amazing.
And maybe even a
And,
snack here and there.
You know, and
Right.
being your healthiest self, but also looking, the best as
Right.
well.
Yeah, like
You're not
no one would know
restricted,
that I'm
right.
eating like 3 times the amount that I was
Yeah.
back then, and my weight would fluctuate so much because I wasn't eating throughout the day. I would get till like 4 p.m. and I would binge
Yeah.
so hard, and it was a vicious cycle, and I would binge all throughout the night and then like fall asleep, which that's terrible.
And then
for
I'm
a
like
digestive
stomachache in the
system.
morning.
Right.
Yeah, so just like going through all of those different phases, it's really cool to have the courage to be on the other side of this now, and to know that you can eat. And the more you eat, actually, if you're eating healthy and like getting your nutrients and everything, like you will look good and feel
Yeah.
good. Like
I love
we're
that.
moving our bodies,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
fueling our bodies for the movement that we are doing.
Yeah.
And the more fuel you have, the more energy you have to move.
Yeah,
Like,
totally. Like my anxiety is like completely diminished, which is
amazing.
super cool.
Yay.
I love that.
Yeah, because that's something I've struggled with all my life. So
Yeah.
to be able to say that
Happier.
is like huge.
Yeah, your body's screaming for nutrients when you're depleting it.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy to see how much happier you are when you're fueling your body with the right food, right? Like, putting whole foods in your body. And it's funny because you touched on something with, under eating. Under eating is just as bad as overeating.
If not more bad.
If not worse, right. And, that's something I full on saw in the fitness industry when I became a personal trainer. And then I started nutrition coaching my clients. I would have them all start tracking, because tracking is just a great tool to learn how much you're eating or how much you're not eating, what you're putting into your body or what you're not putting into your body. And it's crazy because most times when my clients would come to me wanting to lose weight, the problem was they were immensely under eating. Like, and when I say immensely, like under 1,200 calories, almost
like
maybe even under 1,000 calories, right?
Crazy.
And it's one of those things where people are so scared that food is going to make them gain weight. But I'm like, well, if you're trying to lose weight and you're not eating, what do we think the problem is, right? And so it's coaching people to, in a proper way, of course, introduce more food into their diet, eat more throughout the day, and what happens is your body starts to lose weight, and it starts to shift, and it starts to do what it's meant to do.
I love that, and I want to just make a note, or not a note. I want to make a note.
Get that paper and pen. I got a whiteboard.
Yes. It's something you both said, so I wanted to just quickly touch on how I don't believe your lowest weight has any correlation with your best health.
Yeah.
And I have struggled so much in the last 5 years with people telling me, you're so fit, you're so healthy, you're so fit, you're so healthy. And I'm like, my physique does not equate to internal health. Like, I am was a lot unhealthier than a lot of women that were 10 to 15 pounds heavier than I am at my height. And that's like the biggest misconception, I think, especially with women, that being leaner and more fit equates to health. And your hormones, our reproductive system, everything needs nourishment.
Yeah.
More so, intermittent fasting and all these studies are done on men, and to tell women like the healthiest thing is to do intermittent fasting, is to like only have black coffee for breakfast. Absolutely not. Like, when I did some intermittent fasting for a week, I went down into like a very deep hypothyroidism. My adrenals shut down. Like, I was not healthy, and it's very hard when you come from an eating disorder too, when people are commenting on how healthy you are or how healthy you look, when you know deep down, like, you have low sex hormones. You have these issues that don't scream, I'm healthy, I'm fit. Like, I personally think we have to somehow sever that cord of like fitness, lean bodies, and low body fat equates to intrinsic health, because I really just don't think that's the case, especially for women. So that's something I'm really passionate about, is being very careful with what you say to others. Like, you look so healthy, you look so fit. They might be struggling with hypothyroidism or adrenal dysfunction because they're not fueling themselves enough.
100%.
And then it feeds them thinking, I should keep doing what I'm doing because others think I'm healthy. And that's like so hard to break through mentally. So I guess have the courage to give compliments that don't involve what people look like. It's really hard, but like I think it's so important.
Yeah, and I completely agree. When I was my skinniest self, I still was the unhappiest, and people would always comment on my body like, oh my God, you look so good, you're so tiny. And it's like deep down, like, you have no idea what is going up here or in here. And so it's like the comments or the words that can really strike some nerves. And also, like, just being gentle to people too. If someone puts on a little bit of weight, it's like, don't just like tart at them. Don't just like dig at them.
Don't make that be the first comment either. Like, because what if they did that in a way that wasn't healthy?
Exactly. Like, I just had to gain some weight to help rebalance my hormones and get my period back. And so it's like, that alone is challenging, but it's also making me the happiest version of myself. And
healthiest.
And the
I
healthiest.
love that. I love that.
Yeah, one thing I also like want to talk about as well is like the power of nutrients, and like when you're not feeling your body, how depleted our hair, skin, and nails are too. And guys, I literally I need to post a picture here to show you guys the hair journey that I have been on.
Yeah.
Because obviously when you're not eating and you're not keeping nutrients in your body, your hair will start to fall out. And my hair was so thin, so fragile, so brittle. It was like up to here. It wouldn't grow, so thin. Like,
Yeah.
it was so
and now
bad.
if you're looking at this, she has more hair on one side than I do on the whole head. Like, beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, wait, I'm not commenting on appearance.
So like, yeah, and you know, lately I've been getting so many comments on my hair, like, oh my God, your hair looks amazing. And that to me is so great because I don't really focus on like skin or hair products or anything like that. Food has been the medicine for my entire
Nourishment.
journey. Yeah, so I just wanted to share that with you guys as well. Like, if you're trying to grow your hair,
I think like that's such
more.
a great, yeah, just like
just maybe like
that's
eat.
such a great little way to wrap this all into a bow of before you think you need to lose weight, or if you're already struggling with this, obviously get professional help. We are not doctors, we are not psychologists, we are not psychiatrists. We are simply sharing our experiences and what we've seen from the world around us. But the thing that I always remind myself is, what do I lose if I lose weight? I lose weight. What do I gain if I nourish myself and maybe gain a little weight if I need to? You gain your sex drive. You gain glowing skin. You gain some hair back. Like you gain your vitality, your zest for life, your energy, your ability to go socialize without thinking about food or being exhausted and lethargic. Like, I feel like losing weight, you lose a lot of things. Like, you lose the sex drive, you lose the hair, you lose the vitality, and like the things you gain from being at a weight that suits your body, where you're nourishing yourself, those things are like so invaluable and so freaking, they just outweigh to me the things that I would lose if I was a little skinnier. So yeah, I just wanted to end on that.
Thank you all for watching. Please find our Instagram, Ladyballs Official, with a Z on the Ladyballs. We'll link it for you guys. Like this video, share it with anyone that you think would benefit from watching it, family, friends, whoever. But thank you so much, and we will see you next time.
Hit that subscribe button.